And welcome then to Eurosport's preview of the 1997 cycling season. New teams, new hopes and new aspirations. And of course, new equipment to be fine-tuned for the months of racing ahead. Let's start though in Mallorca, where the Telecom team is just one of the many squads using the Mediterranean island for its early season training. First of all, we're going to have a chance to chat to the Telecom mechanic about what he's up to at the moment.
The two nouveaux vélos en aluminium.
He's saying there are new bikes totally made of aluminium. We received them last week from Pinarello. Now we've got to assemble them as well as the steel bikes too. Well, back with the Telecom team before they're going off training, looking at Jan Ulrich there. Those last-minute adjustments for the riders. And the ASICS team as well. Just at the hotel, that's Stephen Roche's hotel, left-hand side, we have the training camps. I was there last year with this team, which was called Carrera in those days. Quick view at Taina. And out on the roads with the Festina team. Quick look on the right-hand side too there at Neil Stevens, who's joined the squad, moving over from Onse. That could be quite interesting. Well then, I wonder what Team Roche thinks about the opportunities of training in Mallorca.
It's very good weather. The roads are very, very good. You have great choice of uphills, downhills, flat roads, very little wind, and I think also the weather plays a big part, because where can you find in Europe, like the end of January, early February, where can you find weather which is suitable for cycling? Many reasons. Also, you have excellent hotels. Like we have clients coming back here for the last 3 years to our training camps. They keep coming back because they have excellent hotels, excellent food, excellent roads. Also, we have a very good service for our clients, where we look after them very well. All kinds of levels, all kinds of speeds. So everyone suits themselves really. I'm getting a bit windy myself now.
Well, they also have excellent food at Stephen's training camps, and he's looking a bit chubby right now, isn't he? Well, I'm looking forward to working with him during the season, particularly Tour de France, and I know you'll enjoy that too. We're now going to have a few words with Rhys here, this man who's surprised a lot of people last year in winning the Tour de France.
Of course, I said last year that maybe I could win the Tour, and maybe some of the riders in the team, they didn't believe me. And why should they? Okay, but now I have been able to show them that it's possible, and I think they respect that very much, and I think it might be a lot easier this year then, because then they know exactly what they have to do, and they know that I can do it.
Well, not only did Rhys win the Tour de France last year for the Telecom team, but his teammate Jan Ulrich with a surprise second place, only 22 years of age.
Ich habe es natürlich gehofft, also wo ich dann zu den Profis gewechselt bin, habe ich gehofft, dass ich...
He's saying, I've always wished to reach the top level amongst the best riders when I became professional,
Hätte ich selber nicht gedacht, aber
and I did it in my second year.
Und vielleicht...
I could never imagine that it would happen so fast.
Oder in den nächsten 2, 3, 4, 5 Jahren.
But after all, that's good. Maybe I could have go better, maybe in the next 2, 3, 4, or even 5 years and become a real leader. And who knows, maybe become the first German to win the Tour de France. Well, at least Jan Ulrich won't have Big Mig to wonder about this year, because Indurain has retired. Vanessa, though, signed ex-world champion Alano, their top man for the Tour. Let's hear what he has to say.
Lo que pasa es que el año pasado el objetivo era
last year he said my objective was the Giro, but it was clear that I also had to race the Tour de France. In fact, he was third in the Giro Italia last year, ninth in the Tour de France. He said so the planning was totally different, and today the objective is the Tour, and of course the schedule will change totally. It has nothing to do with me. For me, last year I made an excellent season. I only hope it'll be better this time concerning the number of victories. We wish him luck. And now then, let's have a word with Enrico Zaina. This is the ASICS team out training. Virtually 1996 career squad now in new colours and new sponsor. So I feel a lot of pressure around me, above all in comparison with the other years when Pantani was with us. It's a professional choice. I'm now 29 years of age, and I think I've done everything possible so far to stand out in stage races, particularly when I finished second in the Giro last year. I felt that so good, much better than ever I raced as amateur. And for me this year is very important, and perhaps the next year also. So I really want to do two good seasons with ASICS and give them a new opportunity in my career. And after 8 years as a professional, I think I'm able to assume that responsibility. Well, there they go in the new colours, the ASICS team. And of course, in there they have the experience, the devil himself, Claudio Chiappucci. Well, he burst upon the scene in 1990 when he took the yellow jersey in the Tour de France and finished in second spot. What's he got to say about the new prospects? Well, he's saying that I think I'll be in good shape for Milan-San Remo, but I don't know if I'm going to be on top form for the Giro. So he's saying, yes, you've got to race the Giro and the Tour de France? Maybe, I don't know. But I like the Tour. The Giro, not so much, but the sponsor likes it, so I don't know. It's possible. I'll race both. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Claudio Chiappucci, the irrepressible man himself. Well, another of the most experienced riders of the peloton, Tony Rominger, now 35 years of age, 3 times winner of the Tour of Spain. Once he's won the Tour of Italy, second in the Tour de France, and says this year it will be his last, and he's going to concentrate perhaps the back end of the season on grabbing the hour record back off our own Chris Boardman. Well, I wonder how his form's going at this early part of the season. There he is, in the new Cofidis colours, Tony Rominger.
Zu Beginn Dezember, Januar war eigentlich sehr, sehr
gut. He's saying at the beginning in December,
in Arizona in America.
And January was very good. I went to Phoenix in Arizona and had plenty of training there. The weather was great. And then I came back and had a lot of meetings and responsibilities, and therefore I lost a lot of my training days. So I felt ill, and a couple of weeks preparation were not ideal, but I think I'm on the way back. Well, after break, there'll be a quick look at 3 early season events and more interviews with the top riders and team managers. Last year of the Flèche Wallonne. Diagnosed as having testicular cancer at the back end of 1996. He'd been undergoing treatment. He's maybe 99% of the way back again, but this is going to be very challenging.
I don't know if I can win. I can try and win. I want to win, but again, one step at a time. But I asked the doctors, what is my chances now? Because in the beginning it was 50-50, and they said 80-20. So it's getting better.
Lance Armstrong then, the winner of the World Championship in Oslo. The brash Texan has matured and mellowed a lot since then. Everybody I know in cycling wish him well on his battle against cancer. Now then, let's hear from his team manager, Cyril Guimard. What does he think about Armstrong's chances?
No, il ne viendra pas, il retournera.
He said, well, no, he's not coming back to the training camp. He's off back to the United States, of course, to be under medical supervision. And above all, he has to wait for the permission of the doctors to start training again. Well, let's look at some of the racing now here. Raymond Poulidor, winner of the Pyrenees a couple of times, out to see the first of the European international race on the calendar, the Grand Prix du Vitour. Well, after a couple of quiet years, the French cycling is coming back. One of the big men is Pascal Richard, riding for Casino.
Je crois qu'il y a trop peu de leaders qui se déplacent tout seuls, qui pensent seulement à eux. Je crois qu'il faut être reconnaissant sur ce point de vue.
Pascal Richard, the Swiss rider, now with the French team, he says that I think that unfortunately there are too many leaders who ride alone. They think only about themselves. I think that when you have teammates at your disposal all year long, it's normal at the end of the year to ask them to ride with you. I think that's important. Well, let's wish him well. There's another man who's changed teams too, Maurizio Fondrest. He's just been asked about the movement of Italian riders into the French teams, and he says that I think it's because in France this year there are 3 new teams. They need riders with points, and here in France they don't have many riders with a lot of points, and so they go to the foreign countries to get some riders who have those points. And this is the launch of the new team, the Français des Jeux. Looking back here at Marc Madio, winner twice of the Paris-Roubaix. Mario Giannetti of Switzerland, who's joined the squad. So let's hear from Marc Madio.
C'est une bonne chose que d'avoir des gens d'expérience.
He said, I think that it's good to have people with good experience in the pro team. Because it'll help on the new young professionals. They'll see all the work they have to do to reach the best at international level, and they'll learn to manage their time, their training, and also their career much quicker if they just stayed alongside French amateur riders or French riders, because it's not the same evolution if we stay between French and they are with foreigners. So that's it, bringing in the top stars from overseas. That's going to make a cracking season. Well, we're looking now at the opening event of the season then, the Grand Prix Louverture, where Richard Virenque went away very quickly indeed, a breakaway after some 7 kilometres, and this race of 136 kilometres, after 3 hours, he's 7 minutes ahead of the chasing group. And he said to his helper here, he said, go and take my tracksuit to the podium. And what did he do? He rode straight in, still 7 minutes ahead, after 3 hours on his own. Richard Virenque then to take the opening event of the season. He's got to be delighted with that. Well, he said, in the past years, the beginner's season, I was in reasonable form, but this time I started maybe 3 weeks earlier, and I also got married, so maybe that brought me something more. Anyway, I'm going to dedicate this victory to Stephanie, my wife, and things have started well. Moving on to Mallorca, and here Eric Zabel at the start of the event in Mallorca. First stage of a Palma Criterium over 80 kilometres. This is really the pipe opener. 2 days training on the island before they took part in this 80k race. A real lung buster, and it's going to be down to the sprinters. And on the bell lap, man who got the front then, Eric Zabel to take the first sprint. What about that? Well, he's saying at this moment we're always still preparing, and I'm surprised. I just want to check how quick I was sprinting, particularly myself and Lombardi. Well, all the team was very well motivated, so I had to win this sprint. That's the man then, green jersey in the Tour de France last year, starting off in fine style. Stage 2 in the event in Mallorca took the riders from Soler to Port de Soler, 151 kilometres, this time in the mountains. Interesting thing about this race, by the way, the riders can race some days and not others, and only those who complete the 5 days of racing actually qualify for the overall classification. It does give some of the riders a chance to take part and to test their form. And here's Zuller then. Let's see how his performance so far, his preparation has gone in this season.
Como siempre, como todos los años, el mismo programa.
Well, the winner of the Volta last year saying it's still like every year. We keep a similar program with a little bit less kilometres perhaps this year than last year. It was very hard last year. So Jalabert takes the second stage. That's his first victory of the season ahead of Benitez, Zuller in third spot, Cabello fourth. What about the rivalry?
Légèrement différentes.
Well, he's saying, well, we have quite different specialities. I'm a classic rider, they suit me particularly well. But all in all, he's talking about Zuller here, we are both good stage riders, mainly for the middle distance ones. And that's the reason we have different programs, to be on 2 different levels of performance. And we have, therefore, different ambitions and different opportunities to win these races. And in the big events, we need each other to help to try and win. Sometimes it's neither me nor neither either him that dominated. So, okay, I'm the only leader of the tour. That sort of tactical positioning, we have good results. As you can see, during the Vuelta of 1995 and 1996. So there they are, the two-pronged attack from the LC team. What about this man, though? Well, Jan Mizou is saying I'm late in my preparation because of falling off my mountain bike during training. But I don't think it'll have any consequence in the Classic. That's the man who won the Paris-Roubaix last year. Now, what about the Milan-San Remo? That's too early, he says. World Cup? Well, he says, no, it's not objectively the World Cup. The important thing, though, is to go and show off the rainbow jersey. Well, there we are, the world champion. What's he going to do in this then? This is the Ruta del Sol. The Mapei team on the front, as ever, setting the scene. Mizou taking the victory. He won no less than 3 stages in the Ruta del Sol. Mapei again showing their sheer strength in numbers. But what about Tom Steels then? Poor fella here, who fell off in Mallorca.
Het is geen enkel probleem. Het zijn enkel schaafwonden, dus normaal gezien dat er geen enkel probleem opleveren.
He said it's not serious injury, it's just a burn. Perhaps he's going to get a bit stiff tomorrow, but after the next few days it shouldn't be a problem. Well, he recovered after Mallorca, and there he is, Ruta del Sol on the Seville circuit. Steels crashing out yet again. Man who took the Hetvolk and the Gent-Wevelgem last year, Tom Steels on the tarmac. Not a good start here. There you see how it happened. Remember Guido Bontempi saying, if you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen when it comes to sprinting, and that's the sort of action they get when they're going flat out at 40 miles an hour. So what's his chances now in the Milan-San Remo?
Nee, normaal niet. Ze zien eigenlijk natuurlijk
he says normally there's no chance. It just depends on my form after Paris. If I can get over the climbs, but normally it's not so.
Okay.
Well, coming up next, we're going to look at the first 6 stages of the Pyrenees. So stay with us on Eurosport. The Pyrenees started this time in Paris. Often it's worked its way south of the city, but the time trial held through the Bois de Boulogne, finishing alongside the Arc de Triomphe, and Laurent Jalabert it was who posted the fastest time in the time trial. This was his first ever time trial victory in his career. So the defending champion, Victor last year, starting off in fine style and congratulated by his manager, Manolo Saiz. And they were the time trial results, that prologue. Jalabert running out Victor in 8 minutes 19 seconds. A lot of riders closely packed behind him. And there's going to be time bonuses on each stage as well. So, as the peloton set off now on the first stage, let's have a look then at the medical control room. They're making blood tests of the riders for the first time ever in cycling history. And this one young man here, Erwan Montour, was not allowed to start on the second stage. What they're doing, they took 20 riders from 5 teams, 4 per team, and checked their blood. It was agreed by the riders in advance, and they were looking to see what the hematocrit count was. They have to have a maximum of 50. And unfortunately, 3 of them were slightly over the level. The Mapei team doctor is talking about the level of blood cells and saying, I think it's better to take a sensible level than to take the level of, say, 55. Because if we don't do it like that, we will not change anything. For me, the level is fixed at 50. It's the right choice. I've been working cycling for 15 years, and during the season, a competitive rider should not have a level higher than 50. Some riders go and train at altitude. I think that when they come back at sea level after 2 weeks, the level will be decreased to under 50. Well, whatever the disputes about the right level, at least the sport of cycling is showing the way in tackling the problem which is said to beset many endurance sports. Stage 2 in the Pyrenees, from Vendôme to Bourges. A great massed bunch of riders coming in at the end of the 162 kilometres and thrusting his bike across the line. Then, yes, you've guessed it, Tom Stills, just ahead of Moncassin, Baffet in third spot. Well recovered then from his problems at the early part of the year, taking that sprint in fine style on the second stage. Let's look at that again. Laurent Jalabert still heading the overall result on general classification, just ahead of Chmil, Mauri in third spot, and Duffield, a great climber, just further back at 23 seconds, 17th. But look at Tom Stills, only 11 seconds down. He gained 10 seconds with that sprint. So Jalabert keeps the white jersey. Pyrenees third stage from Bourges to Montluçon, and in this case Frédéric Pontier of the Casino team went alone on his own, 68 kilometres out there. At least he gave him a chance to show the new colours of this now much improved team in terms of the new riders that come into it. We saw earlier on how Richard has joined them, the Olympic champion. But honestly then recognised the danger, because only seconds were separating the man there in the white jersey from the rest of the riders. So Onti did the usual thing and put the hammer down, brought it back, and it was down then to the sprint as Museo led out Tom Stills, hoping that he would get another stage victory, and he did just that. That's again a lead out from the world champion. Anyway, Tom Stills first, Pagnini second, Moncassin in third spot. And Ekimov, riding for the new US postal team, was in fourth spot. Jalabert there, the gap cut to only 3 seconds between him and Tom Stills, Chmil dropping to third. Well, Jalabert gained a couple of seconds time bonuses on intermediate sprints and just managed to stay ahead of the Mappé rider in second spot. Fourth stage, the Pyrenees from Montluçon to Clermont-Ferrand, and again the intermediate sprint bonuses coming in very important indeed. 185 kilometres to be covered, so time to take up the Musettes on their way through. First attack of the day had been with Neil Stevens riding for the Festina team now, and Mayer, but they got pulled back. They were away from 15k to 75k's, and then the big escape of the day, the first serious one, when Jalabert went away with Didier Rousse, Laurent Duffield, Christophe Moreau, Gilles Boulot, all bar Laurent Jalabert of the Festina squad. And Santiago Bianco of Festina went, and coming across them, Pascal Chanteur managed to close the gap, and together with Benoît Salmon, joined in that finishing sprint, and Pascal Chanteur it was who took the victory. And the big bunch coming in just behind with Baldato taking the sprint from the peloton. Yet again, Jalabert helped himself to some bonuses on the way through. He was third there in the sprint, gave him 4 seconds, and he collected some bonuses as well. We're just moving away from Tom Stills, who's back 26 seconds in the rear, but look at Chanteur moving up menacingly to second spot, only 16 seconds separating him. So the day then belonged to Jalabert and Chanteur of the Casino team. Pyrenees fifth stage from Cunon to the Avignon Vénissieux, 197 kilometres to be done. And here again you see how Jalabert got himself 3 seconds bonuses on the intermediate sprint. But it was the man really who set the whole thing going, riding here for Big Matt. That's a big sponsor of the Aubervilliers team this year, putting big money into it. They sent Teddy Gouvenaud down the road. He took off and actually was out on his own for 94 kilometres. He had a maximum lead of 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and once again Onse put the hammer down, and Mappé then started the pursuit when they caught the escaper, because he got caught 15 kilometres to the finish. And on the line, guess what? Tom Stills again took it, and the man he beat with a bit smarting under the second place was no less than Cipollini in a very close sprint. Jalabert in third spot got himself an extra 4 seconds bonus. That helped him to stay away from the pack just close behind him. Jalabert still in the lead in white. Max Chandry, the British rider, by the way, back in 20th spot, 1 minute to 6 seconds down after that stage.
classement général, Laurent Jalabert. Voilà le coureur qui est que numéro 1 mondial, qui devrait...
On the sixth stage of the Paris-Nice, this one was going to tackle the big climb over the Ventoux. An early breakaway group of Hernandez, Hincape, De Vries, Brignoli and Lientia Baruccia were pulled back. They went after 37 kilometres. By the bottom of the Ventoux, they had a lead of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. When they got hauled back, Jalabert on the Ventoux had the nerve to attack and went away with Zalabecha and Blanco. Jalabert showing who was boss on the long climb. It's some distance from the top of the climb down to the finish, but together with Duffield, Zalabecha and Blanco, they pressed on, and a big chase was set in motion by the Festina team. Jalabert pressed on with that little leading group, just trying to stay away from the chasers. And coming in towards the finishing sprint, Jalabert was that went across the line to take the victory and an extra 10 seconds bonus. Duffield just behind him. And the rest of the pack coming in. Jalabert retained that white jersey ahead of Duffield, Blanco. Those were his escapers, together with Zalabecha, that put the rest of them way down the general classification. Looks like the die might be set, but you never know, because we've got the stage on the Saturday to come, and then the Sunday with the time trial to finish the Paris-Nice. Welcome then to Eurosport's coverage of this stage 7 of the Paris-Nice. There 157 kilometres to be covered before the riders get down to Antibes, right alongside the Mediterranean. This year it's been called the Race to the Sun, and it's been properly a race to the sun. We haven't had the snow that we've had in previous years, the terrible cold conditions. There you can see on your screen that Neil Stevens has a lead of 2 minutes and 29 seconds over Beaumont, Peters and Lely, another group shortly behind him. So Neil Stevens, who's now changed camps and riding with Festina, the watch company from Spain, who sponsor a very, very interesting squad indeed. And they've been so active throughout this Paris-Nice, but unfortunately so far they've not got a lot to show with it in terms of the white jersey, which still rests on the shoulders of Laurent Jalabert. Neil Stevens is no great threat to him overall on general classifications at the moment, so I think they're going to let him just go down the road and fry a bit. But this must be some good tactics from Festina, because Laurent Duffield is second overall at 46 seconds, and by sending Stevens down the road now, there's got to be a chase, and that has to be mounted, I'm sure, by the Once team. So no doubt about it that Stevens here is causing a few problems back in the camp from his old team, the Once squad. Nice to see Neil having a chance to go away. He's been spending so much time with the Once team, just riding hard for people like Jalabert and Zuller. I think he's going to get a little more freedom with the Festina team. They must be coming towards the end of his career. Last year, of course, he had the Australian Order of Merit for his services to cycling sport. And a real gutsy character too. Actually, last year he started in good form too. I think he nips off down to Australia and gets himself fairly fit there. You see 30 kilometres to go to the end of the stage. He's still got to get over the top of this climb. And last year, the early part of the season, he came back absolutely flying, did Neil, and he won the Ruta del Sol last year. That was an amazing performance after having a few problems in the winter. He got married as well, broke his ribs. That was just over 12 months ago, but now he's fully recovered and fighting fit. And obviously Festina here trying to make life a bit difficult for everybody else, riding on his nice blue and yellow Peugeot bicycle. One of the aluminium ones, I think it is, looking down there. There's so much interesting equipment out. I know I had a good chance on the Tour Mercer going along and looking at some of the new bikes, particularly those Telecom Pinarellos in the new aluminium form, the shapes they're making the frames of now. Ovalised tubing, square section tubing, big ovalised down tubing and so on. Oh, here's the chasing group. It's coming down all the time now. Poor old Neil. Maximum lead 3:30, and it's being cut back And there's the white jersey. And look how many Festina jerseys are around about him, you see. And there's not many onsays with Jalabert at the moment. Dufo lying, what, 1, 2, 3 back at the front of this little group there. Passing Chanteur is the man in the red and green jersey just on the front. Stage victory the other day. And Neil still pressing on toward the top of this climb. Less than 30 k's to go. Because we've seen some bad weather over the years in this Pyrenees, which for many years, you can see why Jalabert, by the way, looking for his second victory. It's the sort of event that suits the hard roadman sprinters who can also drag themselves up the climb, because Sean Kelly won it no less than 7 years in succession from 82 to 88, and Sean was the real hard man. He was able to do the classics, great sprinter roadman, and Jalabert probably in somewhat the same mould to Sean Kelly, but he's got to go some to equal Sean's 7 victories. So Neil's over the top of the climb now, desperately hoping to hang on, and here we come, the action from behind. There's special bonus times of 3, 2 and 1 second at the top of this climb, but the gap has opened up quite a bit now as far as Jalabert is concerned. Dupa at 46 seconds, Blanco at 1 minute 3, Zalabesha, his teammate, 1 minute 31. Chanteur is in this group, Pascal Chanteur, he's at 1 minute and 56 seconds, so Jalabert in the white can't let anything go. He's got to be very, very vigilant here on this climb, and not a lot of yellow jerseys there to help him. We've got the climb here. I was mentioning Sean Kelly, and perhaps you'd like to know who supports that great man from Ireland. I met him at the National Cycle Show in Birmingham. Must have been about, what, 4 or 5 weeks ago now. The trade show as such, and he was looking very fit indeed. He's doing a little bit of riding, and he's popping up all over Europe this year, mainly perhaps at mountain bike races, but he's working as an advisor for the grip ship company, you know, the people that make these twist grip chain systems. Well, they're actually manufacturing them in Ireland now, at Cannock-on-Shore, where Sean Kelly lives, and he's been co-opted by the company to be their sort of roving ambassador and advisor. And it's good that we'll see Sean from time to time at some of the events. But he looked pretty fit, and asked him about his wife and family, his mother and father, and they're all right too. They're about 1:31 is the gap now. Back to the group. Glorious sunshine. We've had quite a nice sort of spell of weather, haven't we, recently? Not been too bad. I understand back in England, I sloped off to Mercia to watch the Tour of Mercia. Had a busman's holiday, just to go and ride my bike and watch some of their races. Quite interesting, the Tour of Mercia, to watch Neil come down this climb here, because it starts in Mercia every day, the 5 stages do, and they all finish about 25 miles from the actual town of Mercia, so you can ride out to the finish or ride out and see them along the route, then nip across the finish and ride back after it's all over and done with. Nice way to see the early season, get a few miles in, and a much more relaxed way to go and talk to the riders and meet all the personnel. Anyway, Festina weren't there, but Neil Stevens now taking advantage of this lovely sunshine, this descent here. He's going to take some catches. He's not a bad descender, this fellow. Once he gets to the bottom on the fairly flat run in, then this one's going to have to go some. That's a great sight, isn't it? Nice going down. I rode for nearly 40 minutes up one big climb in Mercia last week, and it nearly killed me. So what goes up has to come down. Chanteur. Really right on the limit, these riders. Right over they go! God. Oh, it's lovely to see the blossom, isn't it? No, so the old blood starts to pump. I think while the season's starting, here we go. Well, they got away, these two, and Jalabert's going to do something about that. And look, Festina flying off the front too as well. They're making life deal for Jalabert. I don't think he's one of the world's greatest descenders, so he's got to keep his eye on this. If you're worried about it, by the way, they are riding on closed roads, so they can use all of the road to come down. We never quite know what's around the next bend. You're just touching the brakes all the way down. Just a little bit here, a little bit there. Not too much. Where they're going out the saddle, sprinting to get the speed up. Oh, it's just brilliant. And a gap's opened up there. You can see the motorcycle cameraman now moving forward, those front three runners. I should think behind, now that Pessina's got one man in that little leading three group, they'll probably be getting on the front and trying just to slow the gap down a bit. Obviously they'd like Stevens to get the victory today, but nevertheless Festina have got so many cards to play at the moment, and goodness knows if those four men come up here and catch up with Neil Stevens as well, so three behind and make four, they'll get a second lease of life, and that's going to make life very difficult for Laurent Jalabert. I know Laurent Jalabert's got quite a lot of fans back in Great Britain, so they'll all be now saying, oh, I got one in there. Well, Neil Stevens went away after some 50 kilometres of racing had been covered. He's been out now for around about, what, nearly 90 kilometres, I suppose. He's there were 28 kilometres to go. He's still in the lead. It's a hell of a ride here as far as Neil's concerned. That maximum gap was 3:30, coming down all the time. It's around about 1.5 minutes now. In fact, coming up over the radio, down to just inside 1:30. There we are, quick rundown on the various stage victors. Tom Still taking 3 of the sprints. And Jalabert, really when we all thought he might blow apart the seams going over the Vol 2, that terrible great mountain where my good friend Tommy Simpson met his end. They went the other way, by the way. They came from north down to south. We all thought that might break the field, but it didn't do just that. So Jalabert, well, it broke it up, but didn't cause much trouble for Jalabert. Still managed to win that stage. Yeah, 1:25. I said it by 1:30, so it's only just 5 seconds inside. Back to Jalabert. And these three riders pride themselves. Chanto on the front then. Oh, they've come back at them now. So our cameraman's got to put the hammer down, going away. Then Chanto's still desperate to catch this man, Neil Stevens, and try and get himself a second victory. Tremendous ride by Chanto. He's really come into good form with this Casino team. Feel yourself leaning with him, can't you? Come on, Neil. Well, through now the Alpes Maritime department. In fact, they've come through 15 departments and 5 regions on the Pyrenees. First time it started in Paris. This time for the first time in 7 years, by the way, for that prologue time trial. Now they're heading right close down to the Mediterranean. Chanto on the front. Ooh, 7%. It really is a fast descent now. These chaps can come thundering down here, and he's trying to open that gap up. Oh, it's gone! It's gone! Oh, my goodness. Oh dear, if that motorcycle, let's go again, here it is, we got in slow motion. Chanto braking, he has to go far around the motorbike, he couldn't get his line right, and look right behind him, they nearly piled into him. That was, looked like Hulot, the champion of France, riding for La France des Jeux, who just avoided the fallen Chanto. What a great disappointment. But really, it isn't the motorcycle rider's fault here. He's got wing mirrors, he can see them coming, but he can't crank his bike over as fast as these chaps can do. And this is always a problem with the motorbikes. Although you think with a chap with an engine could go faster, he can't get round the bends like these bike riders can do. And that was really trouble. Let's hope Chanto can get up, get back on his bike and chase. There, well, the gap now down to 1 minute and 2 seconds to Jalabert's group. Was 1:25, so Neil Stevens, it looks like he's got to hang on for grim death to finish, coming out of there. But what a disappointment for Chanto. Let's hope nothing serious happened. Usually when you slide like that, you take a lot of skin off your legs and so on, and you get back on your bike. But he would have lost a lot of ground, Chanto. Big disappointment then for the man who started the day in what, a 5th spot overall, 1 minute 56 seconds down on Laurent Jalabert. He tried so hard to split the field today, but right now he's on the deck. What a disappointment. Well, there goes the neutral service car, so it looks like Neil Stevens is like to be caught now. They're sending everybody ahead. after having a lead of 3.5 minutes and been out now, spot the thick end of 90 kilometres on his own, just 18.9, just under 20 kilometres to go for Neil Stevens. He doesn't look like he's quite going to make it. They're coming at him very quickly indeed from behind. So this race then, the Paris-Nice, could be down to a sprint finish from this group, which includes the white jersey of Laurent Jalabert, the overall leader. He's had that jersey since the start in Paris in the time trial. And yet again then, the activity there, because looks like Casino here sending off Fabrice Gougeot to try and do something about it. I would presume, therefore, I'm just only presuming, that Pascal Chanteur, who crashed on that descent, might well have got back. They couldn't think that they would send this Casino man off down the road if Chanteur was still lying on the deck. So let's hope he's back in the pack. And his teammate having a little go off the front there, Fabrice Gougeot. On the flat run in then to the finish of today's stage, the 160 kilometres into Antibes. This race then, which dates back to 1933, and talk about dating back, one of the oldest classic cycle race in Great Britain, founded in 1954. The Grand Prix of Essex is taking place tomorrow, so those who want to nip out to the Halstead area on Sunday the 16th of March, the 43rd edition of that classic race takes place. They've got a tremendously good field. They've had to send back about 30 riders who just couldn't get into it, and I see my friend Russell Williams of Team Ambrosia is riding, so best of luck then, Russell, tomorrow in the event. What is it, 100 and odd miles, 102 miles, yep, and £1,500 worth of prizes up there for grabs. With 24 internationals riding on it. Well, back to this one, just to get 6-second gap between Gougeot and Jalabert. I was looking also down the list of winners of the Grand Prix of Essex. Well, I know another co-commentating mate, Hugh Porter, won it in 1966, so a good field turning out tomorrow. Worth nipping out there and having a look. But don't forget, I think we're on air at 2:30 or something tomorrow, so set your video recorder if you're going out into Essex to watch that race. I hope the weather stays fine. Nice call. Now looking down here too, the Grand Prix, Mark Belt won in 1983, and those who probably had a copy of Cycling from a couple of weeks ago, Tony Bell, his brother, wrote an article on me. Thank you, Tony, for what you did, and thank you for the letters that have come in from various viewers and readers, and telephone calls too. I'll try and reply to some of them as the season progresses. I haven't managed to work my way through all the letters left from last year. They come in thick and fast, and I do the best I can, but it's been a fairly busy winter time. Well, looking down there we are. Nice weather, 21 degrees centigrade. Looks like we're going to have a sprint finish. I wonder if Chandry might do well, because Max Chandry last year got a stage victory on the penultimate stage of the Paris-Nice, and Chris Baldwin went on, of course, to take the time trial, the 20-kilometre time trial, and win that one too. Chris not riding in the race today. I think he's riding the Porthole Grand Prix up in the Lake District, having had sickness. He started the Tour of Mercy, only lasted about 10 days as such. Oh, there he is, Chanteur, not Baldwin, slap this. That was Pascal Chanteur, who's back then in the main group. And look at the number of Festina riders sticking up near the front of that little knot. It's certainly going to keep their eye on this white jersey here of Laurent Jalabert. Jalabert last year had a rather disappointing start to the season after he crashed and busted his wrist, but then didn't have the best of the Tour de France either. I think perhaps he's recognising these 7-day type stage race are more to his liking, but we'll have to see as the season goes on. Just 14 kilometres to go, going through Caen now, heading along the coast. I wonder if Stage Chandry is going to make his way through. The Brits actually in this event, we had Tom Simpson finished in second spot in 1962, and in 1967 Tom won this one. If I read in Cycling the other week, it looks like they're going to try and erect some special memorial gates, I think, to either the local park or the cemetery where he's buried. So I think it's 30 odd years now, 30 years exactly since Tom died on the Ventoux, where the riders came over yesterday. Sad time. It looks okay then, Pascal Chanteur. But look at the Festina jerseys here, welling on the front. So I don't think Jalabert is going to let them get too far away. There is a bonus again at the end 10 seconds, 6 and 4. Oh, in fact, I'm glad we've come close to some of the jerseys now. Batik jersey, not dissimilar to the Gavist jersey I had last year, but Batik, Del Monte is a company that, I don't know whether they own Batik or Batik own Del Monte. A lot of people back in Great Britain know about the man from Del Monte. Well, there's a fruit company now who've are sponsoring this team, which is virtually the old Gavist team. A nice little look there at Berzin. We're wondering, of course, crossing our fingers with Indurain out of the racing now, as to whether something like Berzin might do well in the Tour de France this coming year. It's all a very wide open time, but I believe that Mr. Rees will have other thoughts on that score. Here we go. Might have known they're going to be jumping around a bit. Richard Virenque setting off yet again, winner of that first race of the season. I've got a bit of a time trial to go out there for 3 hours, and I'm sure here that the other man who could do well in the Tour, I know that Stephen Roche says that Virenque sort of must have got too much climb in the mountains and could sit in there and do better even still, but we'll have to wait and see. The Festina team certainly very chirpy this year, and now he's got himself mad. Perhaps somebody can just contain his enthusiasm, and at least he's getting some time trial practice off the front of here. Can't quite see what his tactics are. He's going to get caught. Well, he's lying 14th overall in general classification, 2 minutes and 36 seconds down, so he's not going to get much out of this, but perhaps try and stretch the legs of Jalabert. Festina don't really have a sprinter, by the way, so if this lot comes together, we're going to have to start looking out for sprinters, and the leader on the sprint competition is Tom Steels at the moment. And I think he'll be wetting his lips to try and do this. But I'm not quite sure if Tom's made it over the top of the climb. I have to see the camera go back there. And I haven't had a complete running list of the riders in this group. Tom's not the world's greatest mountain climber, so I fear that perhaps he hasn't made it and may not be contesting the sprint. Well, this is a typical Festina tactic. Hammer Bouvard off down the road now. Jalabert's won a couple of stages. Steels won 3 of them. Chantal won 1. Festina are determined, I think, to try and have something to show for their troubles. There's just under 50 riders there at the moment in that little group. And they really are strung out. This is an opportunity of the riders who are not the out-and-out sprinters to try and put it across the sprinters. We've got a bit buried on the climb, but certainly I think Mouzau's back in that group. He's freed the responsibility of working for Tom Steels. And perhaps he might come through and get it towards the end. Looking quite powerful at the moment, so if they relent a bit at the back as they head in towards Antibes. It's a very old town, by the way, and here Jalabert looking quite comfortable in that little group. He's not going to be too bothered now. See Chanteur just in front of him, also the other chaps are with him on general classification. Dufo, Blanco, Zarabica, they're all round about him, so with this sort of sprinting at the end of it, he's not going to worry too much about the position today, and probably try and keep us out of trouble too if they are jumping around the place. Yes, I thought he might get caught. And again, Mappe setting it up at the front. Yeah. He's saying, get on, it's your turn now, chaps. I've done my stint. Oh, we got another attack from Festina, zooming away there. Heading in towards Antibes. Actually, it's been connected with the ancient Greeks, Antibes. It was founded by, as Antipolis by the Greek colonists who came over from Marseille in the 4th century. And we're looking here at a very old town indeed. And actually, the Cretan writer Nikos Kazantzakis was the author of Zorba the Greek, settled here. And of course, Graham Greene, the British novelist, also settled in Antibes. And there's a beautiful museum here of Picasso's work, because he used a studio near here for some 6 months. So if you're down in Antibes, in your yacht. You want to go have a little wander around, go to the Museo Picasso, nice little cathedral too, and a nice old castle too. These chaps aren't here for sightseeing, they're here to see who's going to win this stage. Remember, one more day to go. This is the opening season for Eurosport, covering the cycle racing. Once we've gone through this one, in a couple of weeks' time, we've got the Criterium International, then we go on to the classics, the Tour of Flanders. We'll start up our season of real classics with the Paris-Roubaix, Bastogne-Liège, Fèche-Boulogne, and Gate-Wevelgem. All that lot yet to come for you lovers of cycle racing. And I understand too, we're likely to be covering the Tour of Switzerland complete. It's all, I haven't seen the actual schedules yet, and the Tour of Catalonia as well. And let's hope by perhaps next year we can get the Tour of Italy when it comes up for grabs. But plenty ahead of us, and for these chaps too, who's going to win? Gorgeous part of the world, isn't it? Oh, they stretch it out quite a bit now. Have they slipped the net, I ask myself? Are we going to see then? Carla Bowman's it is, just sitting in on the wheel. Richard Baronka went away to Fabrice Gougeot, still in this a lot too. So when the cat's away, perhaps the mice do play. They stretched it quite now. Carla Bowman's ex-Belgian champion. I've got to think about the game Bevelgum, head Vogue, I saw him win a few years ago. He's got quite a nifty sprint, and he might find himself in with a shout of winning the stage just here. So Mappe could be on for another one. Mappe GB, of course, sponsored by the Italian firm Mappe, who are in the glue business, chemical glues and cement and that sort of thing. And GB, the big supermarket up in Belgium. I always think when I see these yachts aboard, and people say there's not much money about and life's a bit tough, and I think, well, there's a few people with who pop out there. I think that they get a bit dispirited, these three. The only thing to do, though, is to get stuck in off the front, because there's still one or two in that little group with a fair turn of speed. And we'll have to wait and see if we do have that front sprint. There's still time for one or two of the hopefuls to lead out and go for it. We've seen it before. And the speed at which they're going now, as yet they haven't really sort of well wall-to-wall. It's been going pretty quickly, so you don't think they'll get more than about 50 to 100 metres down there. Look out on the front. The yellow jerseys have come, so the yellow perils there to lead out Laurent Jalabert, who could be still looking for a stage victory. That's some way to go. We're going to take a short break, but don't leave us. Be back soon. Just got 3.5 kilometres left towards the end of this stage into Antibes, stage 7 of the Pyrenees, covering 160 kilometres today. We've had a breakaway by Neil Stevens, who lasted some 92 kilometres, got caught just about 18 kilometres from the finish, and now the pace is really hot for these, 50 or so riders that have managed to survive their way through to the finish here. And there you are on your screen, just now 3.250 kilometres to go. Anxious moments when you come thundering in along the proms like this, but they're going so fast on these flat conditions. Remember last year in the Tour de France when we had that crash when they went round one of the islands and they upended themselves into barriers, and so the people like Jalabert, who had that tremendous crash at Montier about 3 years ago, very anxious moment. And actually Jalabert stopped taking part in the sprints for a short while, but he got his courage back. But right now you can see he's lying about 4th, 5th back from the front in his white jersey. A bit further, perhaps 6th or 7th back. And I can see there's another white jersey. That's Museo that's made it through as well. So he's looking maybe for a good place today. Museo running quite well. He's already had some good success this season, although he had an operation on that inflamed knee, which he knocked about when he fell off his mountain bike during the winter. But he seems to really showing good form now. He managed to get the classic Brussels-Kern just a couple of weeks ago, which was some recompense for him after the head bob went to Van Petegem with Tom Steele in second spot. Henri Audant was 4th that day, by the way, and the Cycle Sport magazine, the monthly magazine, has been publishing this month. It's worth getting a copy by there if you can, because it talks about the season to come. and some of the riders in there, and he's put those who are on the way down and those on the way up, and in there they feature my good friend Henri Dant. Henri Dant, in fact, is saying that he's going to aim to finish on the 1st of May. He's going to become a deputy sport director for the TVM team. He's in very good form at the moment. He's not on this race, by the way. TVM not participating. So who's going to get the stage victory? Shortly we'll see the red kite come up, and 1 kilometre, there it is, on cue. Couldn't have written the script better myself. 1 kilometre to go. Burying going on at the front of this little group at the moment. I think that's Ekimov on the front for the US Postal Service. He usually acts as lead-out man. Yes, it is. The US Postal Service have drafted Ekimov into the squad to work for Baffy as such. And he's in a blue jersey likewise. Yet again, you can see the Mappe ride begin to well on the front then, and the work had been done by I'm sure it was Ekimov on the front. Now they start to launch themselves into that sprint. And Museo looks quite comfortable at the moment in the white jersey. The world champion looking for victory, but the blue jersey on the right-hand side's got to get him, and he gets it. That was Baffy who came off the wheels and got that one. Baffy then for the US Postal Service taking that victory. Johnny Welch, the director sportif, is going to be very pleased indeed with that one. Baffy scoring at Antibes. A victory, and they've dedicated the US Postal Service team to trying to get into the Tour de France. They're going to need all the UCI points they can get. As here you see the man in the blue on the right-hand side. In between and the red jersey, that's Chamil. Looks like Museo faded to second spot. Yep, Baffy, Museo, and I think there's another rider between Chamil and Museo. Let's watch that from the top again. Absolutely rocket off the front to get that one. Much further ahead than it looked on our camera. We've got another view of him now, way past the finish. So that's delayed. That's certainly going to help them get some UCI points. Very interesting team, that US Postal Service team, and they are confirmation then that he's got the victory for them. Johan Museo second. Oh, it's Fagnini in third spot ahead of Chamil. And there you can see 3 Frenchmen nose to tail, Moreau, Chanteur and Mannion. Scott Sunderland of Australia back in 8th spot. So good performance for Baffy right here on the front, but Jalabert maintaining his lead on that overall classification that he's held ever since the start at Paris in that time trial. It looks set for tomorrow, but we've got a tough old day's racing ahead of us tomorrow. We're going to be having that for you on Eurosport. I hope you'll join me, David Duffield, for that, because we've got the circuit round Nice, and we've got the run into from Antibes to Nice as well, the time trial. That's over 19.5 kilometres. So join me tomorrow for more action. Until then, bye-bye.
To board to Nice 025, immediate boarding.
Paris-Nice was brought to you by Licher Pilsner.
Welcome then to our coverage of the Paris-Nice. This is the final stage of the race, just under 20 kilometres, taking the riders from Antibes to Nice. The individual time trial running alongside the Mediterranean. Glorious conditions, temperatures around about 21 degrees, not too much wind to harass the riders on their way through. And this course, the one that was used last year by Britain's Chris Boardman to win the time trial in 21 minutes and 16 seconds. Lance Armstrong was in second spot at 24 seconds, and Jalabert was third last year. Jalabert at 29 seconds. He's going to be the last man to start today, because we're going in reverse order of general classification, and we're well over halfway through the field at the moment, and the riders separated by 1 minute intervals, except the back end we then go to 2 minute intervals for the top riders. So the early contestants out there trying to set a reasonably quick time, and because the gaps have opened up by minutes rather than seconds, as some of the tail enders are concerned, they're not really going to leapfrog far up the general classification, except for one man we're going to have to look out for, and that is Tony Rominger, who certainly, for my money, is a man that could surprise quite a few people today. He is lying 81st overall in general classification, down on the GC, but he's looking quite good. He came in yesterday about 4.5 minutes down on the main field, and one wonders, in fact, was he saving himself to get the time trial today. There you see 23:39, the time there for Bart Layson, and he just crossed the line. The leader Steels at the moment 23:04, and that's only just a fraction that Steels has got the lead at the moment, because we had another 23:04, and that was set up by Angelo Casero of the Benesto team, who's lying 41st. 41st to start, and Casero did a 23:04, and so only tenths of a second have split Steels, who's now taken the lead from Casero of Benesto. An early pace setter was Razzano Brazzi of the Polti team. He did 23:08, and but the fastest man we had to start the whole thing off early on was Lian Zavarutia of the Onse team. But all that will be of academic interest as Rominger out on the road, and a man we expect really to probably surprise quite a few people. Then back up into the start house, the familiar colours of the Benesto team. And there he goes on that unusual time trial bike. I'm not quite sure what the regulations are going to be. There's a whole load of new laws coming out from the UCI about trying to stay with what they call conventional shaped bicycles. They're going to stop these monocoque machines being used that we've seen on the track and sometimes in time trialing too, and going back to what we call the old diamond frame. Well, this bike is a diamond frame, but the down tube runs from just behind the head straight the way down to just in front of the rear wheel, and goes straight on through, splitting a bit like the old Rally 20s, or in fact slightly like the old Paris Galibier, I suppose. And of course this F-type frame, as I'd call it, not with the top tube as far as Moulton was concerned. Alex Moulton had a similar F-type frame, and I think they'll have a job to ban that type of frame because it's being used in some form or other for so many years now. Back to more conventional frame, you can see, but look at that thumping great down tube. Watching time trialing for the first time, or cycle racing on the box back at home, that thumping great down tube, what they're doing now is they're making them ovalized like that to make a very thin material indeed, to stand the pressure which is put on the pedal, stop the thing from flexing, because if you have tubes of normal sizes, then you have to increase the diameter, the thickness of them, because the diameter is small, but as you increase the actual overall diameter, you can thin the walls down. A lot of them are using the very thin titanium now, which is quite whippy, and using that triangulated form of design to take the strength down to the bottom bracket, which puts up with the pressure the riders put upon them. Volta's coming in to finish now. The best time to beat then, that's 23 minutes and 4 seconds, but he's not going to do that. 23:45 for Mark Wolters of Belgium. Still top left-hand side of the screen, Tom Steels, who's had a very, very successful tour so far. Well, they don't call it a tour as such. So Paris, he goes from one place to another. But nevertheless, I know there's some talk about a tour of Britain coming up, or some big race in Great Britain, which Brian Elliot's organising sometime back at the end of August. I'm just wondering if Brian will take a note from this sort of thing and make a place-to-place race rather than having a tour. You could often say in Wales, for instance, well, a damn good place-to-place race. And we had in the old days the Brighton to Glasgow. God, that was a race, wasn't it? All you chaps out there. British League of Racing Cyclists. Those are the days, lads. Well, back to today. Paris-Nice it is you're looking at. And starting for the first time in 7 years in Paris, where we had the time trial. If you've just switched on to our programme, haven't caught up yet with what happened, Jalabert took the time trial and is now in the white jersey, and he's held it right the way through the race so far. There we are. You've not seen before. Those are new colours of the Français des Jeux, the team that's run by Marc Madio, who used to be one of our co-commentators on Eurosport, twice winner of the Paris-Roubaix, and he's got this nice new team. The colours are a bit difficult to pick out, though. They're mainly white, but the actual lettering is almost impossible to read. They are the people who run the French lottery, a bit like Camelot back at home. So let's perhaps hope that Camelot put their hands in their pockets and come to support cycle racing one day, because the French team now sponsored by the National Lottery. Of course, the Belgian team, Lotto, is the National Lottery of Belgium. And this lot here, looking at Oncé, they also are sponsored by an organisation for the blind, but the Oncé as such, they get the money for the blind through the National Lottery. So the National Lottery in Spain is run by a charity which is for the blind, and that's what you're looking at now, the yellow jersey coming down here. And Oncé, if you go to Spain, you'll see the kiosks on the corners where they sell you your tickets for the National Lottery. And interesting enough, I'm surprised they paint the kiosk green in Spain, not yellow, to go with the racing team. I don't quite know why they got that difference, but the kiosks are in green. If you're looking for a bit of a flutter in Spain, then Oncé's kiosks are in green. In fact, the sellers of the lottery tickets also will stand on the side of the road near the traffic lights on the way home to drive your car and offer you lottery tickets there as well. So we've got Oncé lottery tickets, Lotto lottery tickets, Français de Jeu lottery ticket, and of course Ross Lotto is the Belgian lottery. What about Great Britain, I ask myself. 26, Wilfried Peters up on the line at the moment. Well, he's in pretty good form, 5th in the Brussels-Kern just a few days ago. Now the next to go, by the way, if you're thinking of nipping out and making yourself a cup of tea, hang on, because it's Maximiliano Schianri who's the next to roll. And there's a British name to capture the hearts. Of course, he's the Anglo-Italian, and he'll be next to go. Millet colours of Mbappé GB. And off goes Peters. Just looking down the list, the best placed rider for Mbappé GP over on general classification mode is Johan Mazou. He's lying 8th overall, 2 minutes 25 seconds down on general classification. Peters is lying 25th overall on general classification, 12 minutes and 30 seconds down. But well, he's going to go quite a bit, buddy. Maximiliano Schianri, who'll be next to go, and here he is. He's actually 12 minutes 22 seconds down on general classification. So only 8 seconds separate the man we just saw go down the road from this man here on your screen. Maximiliano Schianri, winner of the Kellogg's Pro Tour of Great Britain, was the bronze medalist in the Olympic Games as well, and now riding for La Française de Jeu. There he goes in his Gitane bicycle. See all the numbers on his shorts and everything else. That's the lottery numbers, followed by a nondescript car. Of course, with 8 riders starting with the team, you can't have your team car going out following every rider, so they have various people come along to follow the rider on the route, and the team manager will follow the best placed rider overall from the team. And in fact, Max is the best placed rider for Français de Jeu, so perhaps haven't bothered about that. Oh, now then, on we go. We've just gone through, and look at this man, Berzin. Winner of the Tour of Italy, hot hope for the Tour de France, never quite pulled it off yet. And he's lying now 12 minutes and 17 seconds down, 23rd spot. But watch him, this is one man who could take this time trial, Berzin. Brilliant time trialist, no doubt about it. And out of the course already, Tony Romiger's winding his way through. We haven't got a time check to bring you yet, but I think between Romiger and Berzin, we're going to see some battle yet to come in this programme.
Back live to Paris-Nice with Richard Pilsner.
Back in time to watch Luca Alfestino coming in to finish here on this final stage of the Paris-Nice from Antibes to Nice, right alongside the Mediterranean, passing the luxury yachts and the smart hotels and the people out there enjoying the what almost is like summer sunshine, but in less crowded conditions, of course, because right now holidaymakers aren't clogging up the beaches. There we are, Axel Merckx, 9 minutes and 50 seconds down on general classification at the moment. Here's the next to go. And this man really, I'm sure, could find his feet with Polti. And let's see what he does. I wouldn't say he's the world's greatest time trialist, but really last year he came good. He was 4th in the World Championships and 3rd in the Tour of Lombardy. And so a man who didn't really want to go bike racing. He was a footballer to begin with, but then he's following in the wheel marks of his very famous father. It'd be interesting to see how he goes this year, riding with the Italian squad, because that really is where his father made all the progress, riding with the Italians. And it was in fact 30 years ago on the 16th of March that Eddie Merckx won the Milan-San Remo, then the record speed of 44.805 kilometers per hour. In those days, Eddie was riding for Peugeot, and he won the race ahead of Gianni Motta, and Bertossi was in third place, and Felice Gimondi was fourth. And that was some 30 years ago that this man's father won the very great Milan-San Remo at record speed then of 44.805 kilometers per hour. Just thought you'd like to know that. Topical, isn't it? Axel Merckx, 6'3", by the way, weighs 160 odd pounds. Now watch him at 24 years of age. Very big, tall, gangling chap. Much taller than his father. By the way, put on a bit of weight recently. Did you see our coverage yesterday of the Pyrenees? And we showed Stephen Roche there, old Chubby Chops, I think I'll call him now. Anyway, up there's the overall classification as at this morning, or at least this afternoon, because we had a stage this morning. Now we're coming on the afternoon's time trial, and there's your top 10 places. You see how closely some of them are banked together once we get down to Pascal Chanteur, 2:01, 2 minutes 17, 2 minutes 24. So it's quite a battle to go on for the lucrative money that's to be won there, but I don't think we're going to see Jalabert pushed off the top spot there with that lead. He's got 48 seconds over Dufaux and 1.6 over Santiago Blanco. So the gaps then may not see much change at the top of the classification, but certainly I wonder if we're going to see Boardman and Rominger and or Berzin win this time trial today. Ginetti, unfamiliar colours again, riding for La France des Jeux. 25-23, I don't think he's busting up there. He's obviously looking for the classics, the man who burst upon the scene, taking that Liège Bastogne Liège a couple of years ago. They went on to get the Amstel gold as such, and therefore this team will look towards him. The French team, who've really surprised a few people, the way that money's flowed into the French sport this year. We were struggling last year. We had the Festina team, which originally was licensed in Andorra, then it switched to being a French team, and Ghana. It was the only two big top teams we had last year from France. And now as Vignoli gets underway, the Italians have been recruiting, some of them, and the Swiss, into the French squads. But we have in this race so far, just let me know, we've got to let you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the French teams are riding in the Pyrenees. The GAN team, the Festina Watch team, which is sponsored by a Spanish company but is now registered in France. Cofidis, which is the new team, and La Française des Jeux, we've seen them. The Big Mat Obey, the Casino, c'est votre équipe, and the Mutuelle de Seine-et-Marne as Royal finishes. Again, of course, you know all about them, sponsor of Chris Boardman, they're an insurance company. The Festina watches, we know all about them, they're in the watch business, and very successful company too. And a successful team too. They came out and dominated the Tour of Mediterranean, Festina, and they've been trying to wrench this lead off Jalabert since this race started a week ago in Paris without success. The Cofidis team, by the way, they are a finance company. If you want to buy something on terms as such, you can actually phone up. It's all done by telephone, and it's based up somewhere in Vascois, I think near Lille, so there's going to be a big turnout, I think, of the Cofidis people when we have the Paris-Roubaix up there. Cyril Guimard's got that team together, as I say, backed by that finance company. I've mentioned La Française des Jeux, the lottery people, and Casino c'est votre équipe. They struggled for a couple of years, very low-key team, low-key budget. They've pumped some money into it now. Casino is a great big supermarket group in France, so they're back in the sport in a big way. Big Mat Aubert 93. Aubervilliers is on the north side of Paris. 93 is the region, and Big Mat is a big supermarket group. I'm not quite sure whether in food or in things like Castorama used to be into the area of sort of house decorating and renovating, but that's what they are. Mutuelle de Seine-et-Marne, that's one of the lower teams in the French group now. They are also an insurance company. Martin Jefferson coming here. If you've just been switching on for the first time for Eurosport this season, this afternoon and a Sunday afternoon. Have a look at these colours. These are the US Postal team. We never saw much of them last year. They came across and rode a few races with a mainly American backing. They had a few changes of management and drafted in people like Ekimov and Baffy. They're Marty Jemison, who's ridden with people like the Nobel team, and now he's in the US Postal. So why, you might ask me, as watching next man Richard Bronco, should the US Postal team be sponsoring a team? Well, they do a lot of business, the US Postal people, in Europe with parcels and so on. They want people to know their service. That's what it's all about. Bronc, the one man. Built up in the background by Daniel Maljas. This man really, as far as France is concerned, could be a hot tip for the Tour this year. He's been 3 times King of the Mountains, finished 3rd last year. He's got himself married just about Christmas, and it's done him no good at all. So no harm at all, because he went and won the Grand Prix d'Ouverture, the first big European race of the season, and he romped away and he did 3 hours on his own and won by 7 minutes from about 7 men and 15 minutes from the main pack. So his big problem is, Richard Bronc says, he's not a good time trialist. He can climb mountains, but he did a 3-hour time trial. And here we are, off they are, breaking across there. You can see Berzin at the moment fastest at the 5.3 kilometre mark. No sign of Rominger. That's interesting. I don't think he's quite in full form. He seems to have missed a bit of training so far, but let's concentrate back on this man here. Interesting picture, by the way, this week in the L'Equipe magazine of Veronk, who we just saw, actually having his hair cut in his local barbers, and the barbers actually had, you know, they sort of drapery with this big shroud type thing to stop the hair going all over the place. I don't know what they call it, there's probably a name for it anyway, but I know that the Demon Barber, the Beacon Road Cycling Club, Mick O'Keefe will tell you what it's called, but they put the thing on a man, don't they? And Veronk's barbers actually had this big white sheet thing printed with red dots like they have for the King of the Mountains in the Tour de France. And so there he sits there, has his hair done with this enormous, great big white thing over his shoulder with the big dots on it. So he's got his own special equipment at the barbers. And a nice little low-profile bike here. So without the weird and wonderful plastic things, or so I say carbon fibre things we've seen in the past, then teams that have been persevering with these ovalised aluminium down tube type machines will no doubt have a bit of an edge. Pasqualino, now here's a bit of a conundrum. This man has never really quite done. He's riding for the Big Mat Automobile team, sponsored as well by Peugeot, as you can see. Off he goes. Patrick Lino, in fact, way back in 1982, was one of the French junior champions in the team pursuit on the track, and he also was French champion on pursuit in 1987 too, and he rode in the 100 kilometres in the Olympics as well, and so he was a man we all thought would be a great time trialist. He'd been quite useful. He seemed to fade a bit really, and here's a man we haven't seen on our intimate time checks so far, Rominger, and he looks like he's about to be overtaken. That's a turn up for the book. Rominger not looking in his normal state at all. He looks over his shoulder here, Tony Rominger. Looks a bit like he's fighting his bike too. Mind, he often looks like that, very chunky, but by God, he can go. Remember when we were doing the live coverage of his hour record attempt down at Bordeaux, and he just goes whizzing around there, well over 30 miles an hour. It was just something unbelievable to see how smooth he was. He looks a bit bodgy at the moment, with Guzan up there onside him. Rominger coming in, 23, 24. He's not going to challenge Steele's 23.04 at the moment. No, you got 24.02, minute outside it. So he's got some way to go. He's actually saying, by the way, that Rominger, watch him on our screen now, his ambition this year is to get the hour record back off Bourman. He might even use the Superman position to do it. We'll have to wait and see. You never know. In this final time trial of the Paris-Nice, Ekimov, 10 times world record holder on the track, a tremendous all-round performer. Now going across this American squad to add some points towards their ambitions to ride in the Tour de France, and already this year he's been showing quite good form indeed. He was 5th overall at the Tour of Valencia when he finished 6th in the time trial behind Chris Bourman at 44 seconds. So with a few more miles in his legs now, I think we might find him challenging for that top spot, which at the moment looks like Berzin out there on the road is going the quickest we've had so far, and could well topple Tom Steeles, who's done a tremendous time trial to set the fastest time so far of 23 minutes, 0.04 seconds. Watching Ekimov go along here now. US Postal team, if you get a look at the jersey, they've gone to a much stronger dark blue. Last year they had a rather sort of wishy-washy jersey. I did like it actually because it had a picture of Armstrong, not Lance Armstrong, but Satchmo himself, the great trumpet player. They had a picture of him on the front. It was a stamp that the US Postal Service had printed. They decided to make the jerseys looking like the great Satchmo, but it was a rather sort of a bland jersey. You couldn't see it very much, and you can hardly read what's written on them either. I don't know what your television set's like. Mine's a bit grotty here, but I happen to know it says US Postal Service along there, and so far they haven't had time to put the graphics on the bike either. Hey. Well, we wish them luck. Nice to see the Americans back over here since Motorola decided not to go on sponsoring last year. But American money still in cycle sport, and with people like Ekimov and Baffy and so on with them, then they could well be getting enough points perhaps to make the grade into the tour. Look at this man's style here. Always polished so much, stage victories had in Tour de France and so on. Great time trialist. Stefan Hulot now transferred to the La France de Jeux, Marc Maddio's team from the GAN team last year. You may remember the French champion in the Tour de France taking that yellow jersey, and some of those pitiful sights on television was when his knee gave way and he had to retire from the race on the climbs, and that was really heart-rending to watch him struggle, and then climb off his bike. We wish him well this season and no knee trouble. So much heart-rending we had last year, was it, on Eurosport Live, when Miguel Indurain climbed off in the Tour of Spain. It really sort of busts the gut when you see things like that. Chaps really struggling. Crashes when we saw Brunel go over. All live stuff on Eurosport, and we've got a big year ahead of us. We're going to all the same races again and some more. Tour of Switzerland, we're doing that one. We're doing the Tour of Catalonia as well. Throughout, right to end, both those races. We haven't done them in full before. Well, not for some time now. And there we are, our Bursey, no doubt about it. This man is absolutely romping away with it. Look at Iris Polly on the left-hand side, by the way. The big fellow now riding with the GAN team. He's 6'4", and I call him one of the British-speaking gang, by the way, because he's married to an Australian. And I can have a chat to him, and he understands our language now. Nice close-up of this bike. See that sort of strengthener across between the top tube and the seat pin for Hulot. Actually, the French team here that Marc Maddio's got, it's got 3 French champions in it. When he launched his team in January this year, they stood up there. They actually had the team in white, blue and red, the French national colours, or red, white, blue, whichever way you want to put it now. And they actually had 3 national champions up there, because not only have they got this man here, you need smarter, the champion of France, but they'd also, on the road riding, they'd also got the champion of France for the time trial, and they also had the French champion of the cyclocross as well. So they had 3 French champions up there, and I think it must be quite unique in sponsorship to suddenly have yourself with 3 champions going into a brand new year for a brand new sponsor. Well, looking down the stage, I see Steele's there, has won 4 of the stages so far. He won the one this morning, Tom Steele. It developed into a bunch sprint after the group got away, but in the end Tom got that one as well. And you see he's got 4 stages, and Patrick Chassé, our French commentator, was asking me before we came on air as to whether I could remember or have any notes about who won 4 stages in the Tour in the Paris before. He said this must be unusual. I said, I'm not certain, and I haven't got the books with me. They're all back in England, but I seem to believe that probably Sean Kelly might have won 4 stages, because the bold Sean won this race 7 years in succession, and he was a great Roman sprinter. And I'll have to check my notes when I get back to Great Britain, but I rather think that Sean might well have taken 4 stages in the Pyrenees in the past. But at the moment, Steele stands there as being the man not only that's won 4 stages so far, but he's also leading in the time trial as well. So he's obviously on a very, very good season indeed, despite falling off in the Tour of Mallorca and banging his knee, and then falling off again in the Ruta del Sol. But he's bounced back, and of course as he did last year when he took the Het Volk and the Genk-Wevelgem. So Tom Steele's obviously on a high at the moment. Good look, see the aerials here, the communication they have, the link with the race radios. They also have, the team cars will have a link. They'll have one there and then down the road with a watch as well. So it's all programmed, so they know what's going on. Zeli coming in here for the Psycho team. Let's have a quick look, see if he's on this thumping brake. He's certainly on the Cannondale, but he's got these big tubes on him. Everything inside view, I suppose. But another interesting changeover this show. We've had so many teams, new teams coming along, riders changing team to team. That the Psycho team, they are coffee manufacturer or coffee machine manufacturing company. They've now taken to having their bikes provided by Cannondale, an American company that were one of the earliest ones to go into making aluminium frame bikes. There you go, quick look at it. There's something great to down tube. They've also been riding on the Spinergy wheels as well, and it's quite an unusual departure. And we didn't get a chance to look at it very easily, but we'll see it later on in our other programme, I suppose. But it's so thick, the down tube, they put the Cannondale name on it 4 times. So there's no doubt who sponsors who makes that particular frame. Bjorn Mazot, world champion. Yes, you can see that. Looking very strong indeed. Again, he started the season off in good form, and he's determined. He's not too bothered about the World Cup this year. He said he's really come into this season to show his jersey and to do what he can. He's already won the Brussels-Kern stage victories in the Tour of the Med as well. So the world champions start off in good form, but his main ambition, of course, will be the big classics coming up. We're not covering the Milan-San Remo this year on Eurosport, but we'll be on air for the Tour of Flanders. That's going to be, of course, his big ambition, again, to do well in that event where he faded last year on that final climb of the day and had to settle for second best. But he went on, of course, to dominate the Paris-Roubaix last year when his 3 Mappé riders rode in 1, 2 and 3. So we've got all that to come on Eurosport ahead of us. Great cycling for you all. And he wouldn't put himself down as the world's greatest time trialist, but over 19-odd kilometres, you might as well, I suppose, throw everything to the wind. Time. Look at that! I said Ekimov had been drafted in to do some good, a great time trialist, and he and Berzin are having their own little private battle. Rominger having finished, and as they might say, disappointed the judges. So it's down to those 2 at the moment. And here, Berzin, that rocking star, the man who won that time trial last year in the Tour de France, the one from Bourg-Saint-Maurice to Val d'Isère, when he trounced Bjorn Ries by 35 seconds. Lana was back at 45 seconds. Rominger was 4th, so it shows he can time trial uphill as well as on the flat as well. But at the moment, he's got to really go some, because the chips are down, and his ex-countryman, or still countryman from Russia, Ekimov, is now chipping into the times that he set up already. Is this going to be Berzin's year? I don't know. Well, sometimes he's promised so much and never really actually come good, but let's see this year if he will really, with the right team support, grows up and really starts to ride to his ability. He won the Giro in 1994, but right now he's got to prove his own. I think he's decided, by looks at that he's certainly going to have a go at the season. He started well there, 22, 57, 41, puts him in the lead at the moment on the time trial, with Ekimov out on the road doing what he can to go faster than Berzin, the new leader. Welcome back to the final day in the Paris-Nice, this stage from Antibes to Nice. The time trial, 19.5 kilometres. Last time the 20-kilometre time trial along the same route was held. Chris Bourman ran out the winner, 21 minutes and 16 seconds. Nobody's got near that time at the moment. In fact, when Chris rode along this road last year, he averaged 56.139 kilometres per hour. That's bang on 35 miles an hour. That's Chris's level of time trialing. It just flattened everybody. Amazing performance that Chris put up then. I know he's riding the Porto Grand Prix, I think it is, in Britain today, up there in the Lake District. I think if I got my facts right. And he's gone to ride that because he had to retire from the Tour of Murcia when he had sickness, and on day 1 he only lasted some 10 miles or so. And this Escartin here for the Kelme team comes in. I must talk about them because, of course, they're sponsored by Spanish Eurosport. So Escartin, 24.38, a bit off the pace at the moment, down, what, in 44th spot. They did very well in the Tour of Murcia, dominating that one and getting it. And you can see there the old little logo on the left-hand side of the screen, as you see it. They're also by Costa Blanca, that's the Spanish coast resort area. Their co-sponsor, the Kelme team, who decided originally not to sponsor this year. They're shoe manufacturers, and Kelme then have continued with the support of Costa Blanca and Eurosport, and they've gone on then into the sport this year with less money from Kelme and more Spanish riders than having the Colombians they've had in the past years, which suited the sponsor in Colombia. But not at the moment challenging as far as the overall time trial is concerned. Well, he doesn't look like he's enjoying this one at all, does he? Gritting his teeth, perhaps not, as I say, his most enjoyable form of time trialing, but Merckx coming in here. So finished last year in a grand style, at third in the Tour of Lombardy and the fourth place in the World Championships. Really, I think people saying, well, he won't be exactly like his dad, who won nearly 500 bike races in his time. But this is something we've got to watch out for in the future, particularly in these single-day classics. Big man, though, when it comes to climbing the mountains. Axel Merckx started this morning 9 minutes 50 seconds down on general classification, 20th overall. Those remarkable colours of Polti. A little less green on this year, lots of yellow. In fact, there's an amazing number, we haven't got them in this race, of teams with lots of yellow on the jersey. We're going to have great confusion. Galante ride in yellow, their Polti's got yellow. And when we come to see some of the other teams, I saw them riding in Spain, the Tour of Murcia. There's a lot of yellow jerseys about the place. We'll have to change them, of course, those to get into the Tour de France. But it's causing some confusion when you see the bunches. Bouvard coming in here for Festina. They really have been trying to battle to take the overall victory off Jalabert and the Once team. They've given a right old run for the money throughout the race so far, but most days we finish with a bunch sprint, or Jalabert managed to get away. They did over the Vol2, and when he and three others went away, stayed away, and got into the finish, which really put the lid on the whole thing as far as the race was concerned. Jalabert is also riding, if you haven't caught up what's happened to Paris-Nice so far. There's been lots of time bonuses along the way, and early on, until we got to the climb over the Vol2, he'd been picking up all the bonuses and just kept himself away, having got that white jersey on day one in the prologue time trial. But another nice view of the coastal stretch between Antibes and Nice. Amazing buildings, isn't it? Well, they're going on to Nice, the capital of the Côte d'Azur. They're finishing along with Promenade des Anglais, which really was dedicated to the Promenade des Anglais because the British visitors came here in the 19th century and set it up as a holiday resort. And believe it or not, the Russian royal family also used to come down to Nice as well. So they've got a Russian at the moment leading on the overall classification with Benji Berzin. So with Berzin leading at the moment, Russian link still going on. I don't know if they're actually going to get the cameras up, but in the background you might be able to see the Russian Orthodox Cathedral with the gilded towers up in the distance as well. Danger man at work. You can see the determination here. Didier Roos, well, Festina, they're leading on the overall team at the moment, and it looks provided they keep this sort of performance up. They've got Christophe Moreau, Didier Roos, and Laurent Duffield, all quite reasonable time trialists. Richard Bronk hasn't been hanging about either, so we could in fact be seeing them trying yet again to do well today. Steels has now dropped. You see at the intermediate time he's down in 10th spot, the early leader. So Ekimov just 11 seconds ahead of Berzin, and that looks very interesting at the moment. Benitez from the Kelme team, another of the youngish riders coming through here. And we're going to see a lot more of these Spanish riders when they get to the mountains. That's when they really begin to come good. We've already seen Escartin finish. The man who finished 8th in Tour de France in '96. Now there's young Benitez coming in here. Being a pro for what, 3 years now. Quite a useful climber. Joe was there with his team helping him on the mountains, and only 38. Well, the climbers don't often do very well in the time trials. So this really is a body performance here. Fighting his bike, I think it's Fabrice Gougeot coming in now for Casino. We're going to see large lumps of yellow on that jersey. Not perhaps too much to worry the Tour de France. We'll have to wait and see if they make them change it. But they've got great wodges of yellow on their jersey. Of course, the Ross Lotto's got great wodges of yellow on their jerseys. That's early on the Onse team. Going to cause problems later, I suppose. We'll see how we go. Oh, that's interesting. Casino on his shoulders, they've actually printed upside down, or has he put his jersey on back to front? I'm not quite sure which at the moment, but having a quick look at that. Casino, again, some of these scripts are difficult to read for the sponsors, but they seem to have got it nicely shaped to suit his shoulders, but it's upside down, so perhaps if it's transmitted this to Australia, they might be able to see what he's got written on there. But it's happened before when they print these things, called subliminal printing, and when they come to stitch them together, they discover they printed the wrong way up. They have to go and start and do the whole thing again. Pascal Chantot. Now, this is the fellow who has already taken a stage victory in the Tour this year. One of the few blokes that has done, other than ride round in the wheel marks of either Steels or Jalabert. And Chantot won the one into Clermont-Ferrand, the 165 kilometres, and he came in ahead of Duffield. Jalabert was him. Little breakaway group actually got away, the 7 of them: Duffield, Jalabert, Rousse, Salmon, Blanco, Bouvard, and Pascal Chantot. In fact, Chantot got up to the breakaway group with Ben Alston quite late on, and surprised over by rocketing across the line and taking his first big major victory of his career. As Varrock comes in now. He said this time trial is not his greatest his ambition, so the winner of the Grand Prix d'Auvergne is not going to win this one. De Las Cuevas. All right, all your supporters back at home, De Las Cuevas. This is the man, the elusive man, the Scarlet Pimpernel of the cycle sport. He sort of disappeared completely last year. He's back here, and he's 16th at the moment, De Las Cuevas. He's interesting chap. We could talk about it for a long time, I suppose, but he started to come back this season. Let's quickly put you in the picture. We want Chantot here, De Las Cuevas. He was second overall the Tour of Valencia just a few weeks ago, and did quite a reasonable time trial in that one when he was third behind Chris Boardman. He's just coming now, not quite at the same level of performance. Now back to Casino. Let's see about the jersey, the name. Casino, you can see it on his leg, you can see it on his back. Just the camera to go away. And I'll have to wait and see if Mr. Chantot has got his Casino on his jersey the right way up or the wrong way up. But that will be revealed in just a moment, says he, hopefully. Gets some stick from his team manager behind. You're riding yourself to an absolute frazzle, and you've got this bloke who's travelling on a car behind you with a loudspeaker going full shout. I think sometimes you feel like going back and telling him where to put it, I suppose. No doubt about it, what he's telling him to do. He comes from Paris, and he's on his way to finish in Nice, having started with his back to his home territory. And for Zalabecha, number 8 then, for the Onse team. Behind him, yet on the road, Santiago Blanco of Benesto, Laurent Duffield of the Festina team, and Jalabert. And there we have the little running order now. Ekimov, Berzin, Als in third spot, Moreau, Finco, Casero, all closely matched together. And that 11 seconds difference between Ekimov and Berzin. Berzin's still the leader at the moment at the finish. give support along the way. I can hear them all shouting on. The encouragement here for Zalabatia, and back out with Ekimov, who's been setting some of the fastest times, like 2 fastest times so far. What's he going to be? Berzin is the leader. He's waiting on the side of the road to see what's going to happen here with Ekimov coming in now. Looking for a victory, and is he going to get it? It looks like he will. 22-27, and he's got it. 22-27-07 puts Ekimov in the lead now, showing his superb pursuing ability translated into time trialing. Ekimov goes into lead on this time trial, the final day of the Paris-Nice. Out on the road, number 1 on his back, the overall leader in the Paris-Nice. We had a quick look before going up to his teammate here, Zalabatia, who started 2, 4, 6 minutes in front of him. Wearing number 1, last man to go, Laurent Jalabert. Last year's victor. We'll pick him up in just a moment, but he has started from the start house we call it at Antibes with his 19.5 kilometres ahead of him, and up in front of him now, Victor Zalabatia. And we go back into the finish area to watch Stéphane Hulot coming here, the French champion, riding for the Français des Jeux. And this morning, Hulot was in 9th spot, 2 minutes 27 seconds down. Ahead of him then was Johan Mazeo, 2:25. Only a couple of seconds separating those two. Ekimov, who's already set the fastest time so far, was 2 minutes 29 seconds down on Jalabert. I wouldn't have thought that Jalabert is going to lose a couple of minutes in this race over this short distance anyway, so maybe a foregone conclusion that he actually finishes, but will Ekimov run out the victor in the time trial? Berzin at the moment lying second. So Hulot coming in here with that 22:27.07 to beat. There it is on the top left-hand side of the screen, but he's going to struggle just to stay inside the top 20. Is Hulot. He's the best placed rider for the Français des Jeux. Ahead of him, yet to go, we've seen Pascal Chanteau on the road. He's the best placed rider for their team, lying in 5th place this morning. Santiago Blanco will be picking him up later on too, I'm sure. He's lying 3rd overall, best place for Benesto. Laurent Duffield, best for Festina in 2nd spot. And of course, the Fiancé rider, Jalabert, is the overall leader and best place for them. Going back down the list of best placed riders, Ekimov leading the US Pro team. Bennett Salmo, best place for the Lotto squad. And for the Big Mat Aubervilliers Peugeot team, Pascal Lino, 12th this morning, was best place for them. Benitez was leading the Calme squad in 16th spot, and in 18th spot, Scott Sunderland leading for the GAN squad. Brignoli was the best place for the team Batik, sponsored the Del Monte Batik people, the fruit people. He was their best placed rider, and he was back in 17th. Axel Merckx leading at Polte, 20th overall. Escartin for Calme, 21st. And the best placed Psycho rider was Fagnini. Tony Romigo leading the Cofidis team in 35th spot. And Dominic Rowe in 55th spot, leading the Mutual in Mars team. So that's it, the rundown on the teams that started. The 17 teams of 8 riders. We're now watching the world champion coming in here, Mazeo. Thoughts, I'm sure, of the classics yet to come, but he's ridden a very good race. In fact, it was nice to see Mazeo leading out Tom Steels in the gallop to the line when Tom Steels has won himself 4 stages. And he had quite a respectable performance for Johan Mazeo, showing he's got good strength in those legs. 23, 29, 61. So the world champion just finished. Christophe Moreau of Festina yet to come in. He'll be the next one, starting a couple of minutes after Johan Mazeo, who's looking very, very strong indeed. He actually had a bit of a problem in the winter, or this early part of the season. He banged his knee when he fell off his mountain bike. Didn't think much of it at the time, but it's given him trouble and had to have some work done on it. Actually, he surprised us all last year, Mazeo. He was supposed to retire, or so he said, and he kept going. Well, that's ship classification after 5.3 kilometres on the right-hand side. No change at the moment in the overall classification for the top few places. Ekimov is shown as up into 6th spot there. He was 10th this morning, and he's leading, as you can see, on the board there with Eros Polly back in 3rd spot. would be Santiago Blanco of the Benesto team. Another look there at 5.3 kilometres. Good ride by Polly at 5.3. Pasqualino, Museo, we've seen those lot finish so far. And the only one that's really made the most of it in leaping up the classification has been Ekimov up there into 6th. That's just provisional by 5.3 kilometres, and Ekimov might in fact move a bit further up, because only, you see there, 13 seconds separating from Chanteur at that particular point early in the race. There wouldn't be much in it anyway. This should be Christophe Moreau of the Festina team. Again, a useful time trial. He started life, by the way back in 1994 when he was got the silver medal in the 100-kilometre time trial with the French squad. So he's certainly got a lot of experience. Second in the Grand Prix de Nation in 94, and also in the French time trials he was second there. So just outside the top 20 places at the moment. The effort showing on his face. Now, when you come to the end of a big race like this one, even if you're a super time trialist, you have to really concentrate. In fact, I thought when Rominger rode in yesterday looking quite comfortable that he was heading really for a good ride today, but didn't quite come off his way. We're back out with Santiago Blanco Gil. He was an amateur until 1995 when he turned pro. So he's quite a new lad on the block. And they were nice to look at that F-type frame I was talking about earlier on, that Pinarello having made that frame. And I saw the time trial bikes, the Telecom team, they looked exactly the same too. And Pinarello's going quite a bit to aluminium tubing this year. And it's not dissimilar in shape, that one, to the Bianchi that was used by Berzin last year. Although if I remember correctly, the Bianchi didn't have the top tube, which you can see there. I'm not quite sure what the whole ambition of that shape of frame is, because it doesn't look to be that much lighter than a normal diamond frame. And the F-type frame with the straight tubing going through, that's the thinking they might have some advantage when it comes to going through the wind. And afterwards, the bloke on the bike that pedals it. Well, the Peugeot side in the background, by the way. And they got interest in this race because they sponsored the or provide the bikes for the Festina squad. And 10 seconds the gap then. Dufo, oh, he's going quite well then, Dufo. Tiffany Jalabert and Dufo. Oh, you can hear in the background, Jalabert, 10 seconds, you know, hey, get on, go on. So if you can't win the race overall, give Jalabert a shock. Actually, there's 48 seconds between the two of them, and you know, one can say, well, it's got to be Jalabert's race, but really they've got to ride their socks off, these two, because those who may remember when Fignon set off last man in the Tour de France. And what was it, 89 was it? I've got terrible at the number in some respects. And Le Mans had gone ahead of him 2 minutes on the road. But that was, what, about 24 kilometres. The gap was about 53 or 54 seconds between them when they started. And I remember my producer then saying, David, it's not all over yet. You know, Le Mans could win this. I said, look, Fignon's at home. He's in Paris. He's going zooming down into the Champs-Élysées. He might lose out to Le Mans a few seconds, but not a chance. Of course, Le Mans went to one by 8 seconds. And it just shows you, even if you seem to think it's all over and done with, so Dufo and Jalabert have got their own private battle going on out there. Chanteur coming in to finish now. The man who won that stage are into Clermont-Ferrand. He was actually a winner of the amateur Paris-Roubaix, so he's a real gutsy sort of rider. Been a pro since 1991, but that was his biggest performance just there on the fourth stage when he romped home to win that one. So does he, tapping the side of his nose, watch out for this lad this year, because certainly Casino want to get in the Tour de France. They've got to lift themselves up. They need the points, and some of these lads are going to really ride themselves to a standstill. Pascal Chanteur then, not going to win this time trial, but in 12th spot. Still Ekimov the leader, 22.27. Slow motion replay of Chanteur lying 5th overall on classification this morning. 2 minutes 1 second down on Jalabert. And yes, the casino logo is upside down. There must be a reason for it. If there's a reason for it, someone's getting at the sack. Now we're with Laurent Duffield. So we've seen Chanteur finish, and how's it going? Well, 1 minute 02. No, it's so in fact the gap is opening up, and he's not going to catch that one back, is he? So just between Duffield and Blanco, the fight for second and third spot. See how Ekimov moved up into 4th now with that fine time trial. That's at that particular point. So I've got a quick little look here. Ekimov 2.29, moved up into 4th. I don't think he'll take over anything above 4th spot, but there's a fine ride by Ekimov. You get the raw, can't you, that disc wheel at the back. That little sort of thing going round and round the front, that's the mechanism to show his average speed, distance covered and so on with the computer on the handlebars, but I very much doubt if he's got it fitted now. He's probably just riding off his pulse meter and riding right up against the stop. Yes, I can see his pulse meter on the top tube there. He's looking down at it. He might even have his average speed on the thing to know what he's got to ride to. And talking of pulses, by the way, just a quick word about the tests you might have seen in our programme yesterday. 3 riders were excluded from starting in, well, in fact they started, were excluded a couple of days into the race for having a high hemocretin count of their blood count was over what they level as 50. There's a lot of concern amongst the athletes' health at the moment, and you can actually increase your red blood corpuscles by training at altitude, or of course there are illegal substances that will do it. And the riders have all volunteered to have this test carried out now, because if you have a too high a blood count, a red corpuscle blood count, then it can lead to health problems, and of course it's illegal anyway to try and do that sort of thing. So the riders all volunteered to do that, and 3 of them found themselves in trouble. There's no saying that they've been doing any illegal, but certainly one of them was claiming he'd actually had diarrhea and sickness, and overnight he dehydrated when they did the test at 7:30 in the morning. That had an effect on it. But they're not saying we're going to fine him. They say, look, don't come back for 2 weeks and give yourself a chance to get your blood count in order. That's a good move by the UCI and the riders, because there's so much innuendo flying around about EPO and drug taking and cycling that the riders all volunteers. Hey, look, it's not like you think it is, so let's be out there and let ourselves be tested, and if there is some problems with us, we'd rather know, and then we can sort it out. Well, here we are out on the road then with the man who's absolutely rocked away with this race right the way from the start. Jalabert looking for his second consecutive victory in the Pyrenees, and there's no doubt about it that as long as he keeps this up and doesn't have any problems, he'll be on his way to a well-deserved and well-judged victory. In that very low-profile frame, you might remember last year they were riding the Look team with some bikes that you looked at them sideways. They were all enveloping carbon fibre-shaped monocoque things. They were actually, I thought, quite heavy, but they reckon they were good in cutting through the wind. So perhaps the rule that the UCI is trying to put in has brought it back to some normality. But then again, I'm not sure about this position with the handlebars. It's now restricted to go forward above the front axle. There's a limit on how far forward your handlebar extensions can go, and there's some complaint that it's not quite long enough for the taller men or people with long bodies. Santiago Blanco coming in here. Well, should probably just keep his second place overall on general classification. Sorry, third place overall on general classification. 2 more rides to finish. Laurent Duffield and this man, Laurent Jalabert. Well, tremendous, strong squad they got, the Once team, with Zilla, winner of last year's Tour of Spain. This man, previous winner of the Tour of Spain, twice now winner of the Pyrenees, and every opportunity then of doing the old 1-2 when it comes to the Tour de France. You can see, by the way, the breaking off. If you look at the white jersey, you see a little ridge going round just below the word turf, paddy turf, and over the top. That's the pulse meter that's strapped around the body, and it sticks against the heart, so it picks up the heartbeats, and they know from their training and their testing just what they can do, how they have to ride to this maximum heartbeat, and they just have it on the handlebars in front of them. No, the pigeons don't have heartbeats. Oh no, they're seagulls, aren't they? Well, they have heartbeats, but not pulse meters. Laurent Duffield coming in then for Festina. Second overall in the Tour of Spain last year, winner of the Tour of France stage last year, fourth overall in the Tour de France. This man, I remember my co-commentator, good friend, old Chubby Cheeks, Stephen Rose, saying to me that this man was going to be a tip for the top. Well, it looks like he's made it now, the Swiss rider here. He's going to get second in the Paris, and that's going to put him in good form for the year, I'm sure. The tremendous strength and depth in the Festina team, and they're certainly going to be one to watch. And without Indurain dominating the Tour de France, we're going to see, I think, a fascinating race again this year, as we saw last year when Rees romped home to take it, surprising everyone except himself. Ekimov still here, 22:27.07. That's as regards the result today, and that will certainly be some useful points for the US Postal Services lot. But there you are, see the enormous armada behind Laurent Jalabert, the Frenchman, riding down the Promenade des Anglais into this city of Nice. It used to be called Nizza, by the way. It was an Italian city until 1860, the home of Garibaldi. Here are the famous biscuits and other things as well. So, this is the long straight stretch tour last year. Maximilian Chiambri, the Derby-born Italian, who's now got British passport, one stage in the Gallop, and then Bourbon went on to take the time trial with a tremendous performance, what, 21 minutes or so last year, so they've not gone as fast as Chris Bourbon did last year. But Jalabert here, riding in, the French spectators, please tickle his punch. I mean, he's actually had this jersey from start to finish, right the way through. And let's look back in the books to see if anybody else has done that. And as he comes down the Promenade d'Anglais, our thoughts go out just some 30 years ago, 1967 it was, when Tom Simpson, a great British rider, won the Pyrenees. Tom had finished in second spot in 1962, went on to win it 30 years ago, 1967, the year of his fateful death on the Ventoux. These riders have been over the Ventoux. This man led over the Ventoux. He had the leader's jersey and all the way through this race. He's defending it by being on the attack. He's taken stage victories. He's taken points along the way. And now coming in here in seventh spot in the time trial. He's done enough to keep that white jersey on his shoulders and win this Paris, which was first started way back in 1933, won by the Belgian Sheffers. It wasn't until 1935 that René Vietto of France became the victor for France, and now we had Jalabert win it twice on the trot. Previous victors riding this year, Rominger faded, didn't quite show his form. He isn't there yet, I think, with the sort of power-like in his legs, but this man here has shown he's going to be a force to reckon with in this early part of the year, and he's very sight set now on the classics, so that's going to be a cracking start to the season. So good luck to Laurent Jalabert. We've got on Eurosport, by the way, in 2 weeks' time, the Critérium International. He's won it in the past, the Cricket International. Bourbon won it last year. I wonder if we're going to see a head-to-head. I haven't seen the start this yet, as to whether Jalabert and Bourbon were riding. It's on Jalabert's doorstep. But as Ekimov takes the victory, takes the award for the time trial from Antibes to Nice. Success there for new colours. Look, riding Trek, that's an American bicycle as well. We're seeing some new things in the 1997 season already live on Eurosport, and great to see Ekimov back there on the Recti rostrum. Montgomery Securities, it's nothing to do with my mate Brian Montgomery, by the way. That's a man who's been involved in the sponsorship in America for many years now. Bell, another of their co-sponsors, have been around a long time, and now they've got that success which is going to please the people back over the other side of the pond, and that sure result for you. The Burrs and Ekimov pretty close together, but Tom Still, what a ride he did there, the man who's taken 4 stages in the Pyrenees this year, finishing off in 3rd spot in the time trial. and they see Jalabert finished 7th. Nico Martin, another good useful time trialist in 8th spot, but no doubt about it that Ekimov was the man who showed that he's coming back with a bang this year. I suppose being allowed a certain amount of freedom in the US Postal Services team, as he's now got, I suppose, the leadership on the road, and he's shown today that the courage they've had in signing him for this unusual team has paid off, and they've got their season's victory here from the Russian, who must be coming towards the end of his career, I suppose, maybe no more than 1 or 2 years to go. And also, by the way, if they get in the Paris-Roubaix, I'm not quite sure if they'll have enough points to do it, but he finished, what was it, in the top half dozen last year. He's another very strong man over the cobbles, so that's going to be fascinating. There they are. The beautiful sunshine beating down. It's been the race to the sun. The sun has been with the race right the way through. We've had, in the past, snowstorms and what have you, but this year it's been a very good race. And Jalabert has shown enormous judgment and strength right the way through since it started. There's your complete list, with Yakimov leaping up into 4th spot, having won that time trial at the back end of it. So the French well packed in the top 10 places. But this is the man who's dominated the race right the way through since it started in Paris just 7 days ago. Well, I hope you enjoyed our pipe opener for the season. My name's David Duffield. I look forward to your company in a couple of weeks' time to Cricket International. Until then, for us all here on Eurosport, on the cycling side, bye-bye.
To board to Tunis, flight 025.
Securities, it's not to do with my mate Brian Montgomery, by the way. That's a man who's been involved in the sponsorship in America for many years now. Bell, another of their co-sponsors, have been around a long time, and now they've got that success which is going to please the people back over the other side of the pond, and that's your result for you. I wonder if we're going to see a head-to-head. I haven't seen the start this yet as to whether Jalabert and Bourbon were riding. It's on Jalabert's doorstep, but as Ekimov takes the victory, takes the award for the time trial from Antibes to Nice. Success there for new colours. Look, riding Trek, that's an American bicycle as well. We're seeing some new things in the 1997 season already live on Eurosport, and great to see Ekimov back there on the Richter rostrum. Montgomery Securities, it's not to do with my mate Brian Montgomery, by the way. That's a man who's been involved in the sponsorship in America for many years now. Bell, another of their co-sponsors, have been around a long time, and now they've got that success which is going to please the people back over the other side of the pond, and that's your result for you. The Burrs and Ekimov pretty close together, but Tom Steele, what a ride he did there. The man who's taken 4 stages in the Paris-Nice this year, finishing off in 3rd spot in the time trial, and there you see Jalabert finished 7th. Nico Martin, another good useful time trialist in 8th spot, but no doubt about it that Ekimov was the man who showed that he's coming back with a bang this year. I suppose being allowed a certain